Wild Times.
Yes. Love that tune. What's up? Wild Times 126. I'm the producer. What's up, Professor? How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you doing?
Great. The broologist
A little different today. Yeah.
just had a baby. So he is trying his best to hop on, but he's literally got a 2-day-old. So yeah, we see. We'll just see if his little chipmunk face
He'll be
pops
here
on.
soon.
And we have an amazing guest that I'm way more excited to talk to than I am you or Forrest.
Me too.
He's the only person I've ever met who is literally turning a giant grocery store into an aquarium. Every kid's fantasy, so I'm excited to dig into that.
You know what they sell at grocery stores?
Oh, you got a fatty?
Irrit Taff, baby. Fat
So
Tire.
call it what it is.
Don't forget our Fat Tire sponsor. I love them.
So they sent us this too, New Belgium.
Oh, one of the IPAs, dude.
Voodoo Vice. Is this gonna knock me on my keister?
Listen, as good as the new Fat Tire is, they sent me a 12er of that. I drank 3 of them and I was tipsy. And
This one?
I am a 40-year-old alcoholic. So it was.
You've lived a lot of rough years. 7.1%.
All right. Let's welcome this guy to the pod.
Kyle, bring on the guest, Brian Barczyk.
What's going on, guys?
Dude?
What's going on, guys? Great I'm not as handsome as Forrest, so I'll do my best to at least raise the bar somewhere else, but I don't know what I'll do.
Brian is a friend of the pod. I'm trying to think, was it maybe like a year ago that you were on?
Yeah. It's about a year ago. Yeah, it's just almost exactly a year ago, to be honest with you. So yeah, because it was right before last year's AnimalCon. So yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So it was probably July of last year. So yeah, almost a little over a year. But yeah, it's great to be back.
Awesome, man.
Welcome.
How is the Reptarium? Last time we talked, you had some not renovations, you were expanding the Reptarium, your zoo. How's that going?
Yeah, so we did that, and then now I tell you, I'm a glutton for punishment. Now we're doing I love it. You know, it's like my whole life is just about getting people to love animals, right? So like the more I can do, the more people we can bring in, the more options, you know, it's just so we're actually doing it's hard for me to even say this number, but we're doing a $5.2 million public aquarium right now.
Oh, nice.
So that's and we're hoping, I mean, if all goes well, which, you know, it's a lot, trust me, we're hoping to open by Christmas of this year. So
where at in Michigan?
It's in Utica, Michigan, literally directly across the street from me, from where the reptile zoo is now, the Reptarium. And basically what happened was about, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 months ago, maybe even 10 months ago. We were open one night, you know, and I was hanging out with people, playing with snakes and doing other stuff. And I always loved the building across the street because it used to be a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that we don't have enough of at our place, our parking is not very good. You know what I mean? Like you got to park like behind the gas station next door, you know, stuff like that. And because we're busy. And this has, you know, grocery store has lots of parking. It's a big freestanding building. It's all the things. And I remember it was Saturday night, you know, about 8 o'clock. And I remember seeing the people from across the street, like literally pull up a sign, like we're moving. And I was like, what? You're moving? Literally the next day I was on the phone trying to find out who owned the building. Within about a week or so, I'd say, well, within a few days, I found out who owned the building through the mayor of the city. I called the mayor. The mayor gave me his
called the mayor.
Yeah, I called the mayor and he gave me the information. And it's such a cool place. And got the guy on the phone. Literally within like a week, we had a deal done, and the building was ours within a very short period of time. And now we're building a big aquarium, which is insane.
Yeah. All right, so that's fascinating because I'm sure almost everyone watching or listening at some point when they were a kid was like, I'm going to build my own aquarium someday. All right, let's go sort of rapid fire. I'm going to ask you a few questions.
You got it.
This is the playbook for turning a fucking Whole Foods into an aquarium. What's the first thing? Besides the design, do you start getting tanks right away?
Yeah, I mean, I think that to be honest, and the timeline that we wanted to do it in which is 8-9 months, something on that lines. It's like, to be honest with you, you're doing like 10 things all at the same time, right?
Yeah, it's quick.
buying tanks. So we use several different suppliers. And listen, really you think about $5 million is a lot of money, obviously. But to be honest with you, it would cost a lot more if I would have not been real thrifty. So
Right.
I would like find these like obscure people through friends of mine that would like go and buy, like when a rainforest cafe was shutting down, they would go buy the aquariums and they would
Nice.
refurbish them, and then you got like a $300,000 aquarium for 50 grand.
Okay.
That's
And
crazy.
don't get me wrong, we have plenty of giant aquariums being built that we had to pay full price for, brand new. But we bought as many, like, as a matter of fact, I don't even know if I can say this, but I'm going to because I don't care. But Anthony Davis from the LA Lakers
Yeah.
was having this giant 16 foot by 5 foot by 5 foot tall bullnose tank built for his house. And so I know the guy that was doing it, and he like gave him whatever 100 grand down or whatever. I don't know what he gave him down, but point is he backed out. He's like, I don't want it anymore. And so now this guy has this giant tank that's $100,000 he already has in it.
Sweet.
And it's probably a $200,000 tank, right? But he, Anthony Davis already gave him 100 grand. Who's going to buy that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Who's going to buy that tank? There's a handful. So of course I can swoop in and go, well, I'll give you 100 grand for that tank. And now I'm getting a $200,000 tank. So yeah, buying tanks, design work, obviously working on permitting, working on contractors, getting budgets together and stuff. So you have to do like 10 different things at once to bring it all together. And to be honest with you, like right now, as we speak, this is when it's coming together. So all these months of like, purchasing and finding people and doing all this stuff. Now, like as we speak, all of it is starting to come together and it's all starting to pop. And it's going to be pretty wild. I mean, again, it's just, it's my private playground. Don't get me wrong. I want people to come and I want people to have a great time. But to be honest with you, I would be happy to just keep it closed and just have it just for me.
Sure.
I find it pretty incredible that you must be one of the people that does the most shit ever at one time, because you're also doing AnimalCon, and like even just from what we're trying to set up there, which is 2 live streams and the scheduling of all the guests and everything, it's like utter chaos. And that it's like 20 times the size of that for the whole event. And meanwhile, you're over here building an aquarium across your street at an old Ralph's.
Yeah. No, it is. It's crazy. Yeah.
What's the process? So you're like, okay, we're doing it. We got the building.
Yeah.
I'm building my own aquarium. It's going to be open to the public, but this is my aquarium. I'm assuming you just sit around with some buddies and get a case of beer and just start making lists of what fish you want in there.
While you're in the building, you're on a couple of milk crates.
Yeah,
exactly.
I swear to gosh, you pretty much described what happened. I have a really good friend. His name is Steve Bashy. He's got a company called Bashy Aquatics. World renowned for life support system. Like filtration. And we've been. This is what's crazy about this is that I've known him since I was like 15 years old. I used to work at a pet shop, and in the same plaza as the pet shop was a Little Caesars. He worked at the Little Caesars. So he used to, on his breaks and after work, he would like come over and we'd just talk fish and we'd talk reptiles. And I kid you not when we were 15, but when we were probably like 23, 24, we actually even designed like he did a little CAD program and we designed an aquarium and a reptile zoo. Nice. Like when we were in our 20s, and we're like, we're going to do this. And then of course, I mean, that never came to fruition. And then dude, I kid you not, the first call I made after obviously talking with my wife and everything like that was to Steve. And I said, Steve, guess what, man? I'm building. And he has this like incredibly giant, like 30,000 square foot building that he, full of acrylic building, life support. And he's got laser machines and, welders and all kinds of crazy stuff over there. And I said, Steve, guess what? I'm building an aquarium with my reptile zoo. You want in? And he was like, let's do it. And it's just crazy that 20 something years, almost 30 years after we thought about it, here we are partnered up to do it, but literally, like you said, we sat in the building and the first thing was, it's like making a list of what fish we want.
Yeah.
hey, we want, clownfish. We want, moray eel. We want black tip reef sharks. We want this. And we literally wrote down every single species marine, every species freshwater, and then back engineered it into, okay, well, what size tank do we're going to need? And of course, we want, to make a really cool public aquarium, you want impressive tanks, right? You don't want, walk in and be like, yeah, I saw that at my buddy Bob's house last week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want it to be like, holy cow, this is amazing. And
Epic.
so that's what we did, but and that's why this is the funny thing. The initial budget was $3 million. And that's what I came up with. That was the money I had available to me. And now we somehow because of that, because you're like, well, we could do this, but if we did this, so much more aggressive. But doing
twice
that
the
cost. Yeah, it costs $100,000 more. And you do that enough times, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're scraping, like begging for another couple $1 million to finish the project.
It's funny when you start like a project. It's like when you buy a house, you start off with a budget, okay, like $500,000. By the time you buy the house, it's clearly $1 million. There's no other options.
Yeah.
You're just like, all the realtor's only showing you stuff that's above 800. It's just never is ever on budget ever, no matter what you do at that.
But it's interesting because, like, working as a TV producer, most soul crushing part of the job is reconciling your big ideas and your creative vision with the dollars.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And so you go, we were going to go, we wanted to go film this scene in Iceland, but fuck, we just can't do it. So we'll just pick that scene up, whatever. Was there like one fish or creature that you really, really wanted, but you just couldn't make the dollars work?
No, it's kind of the opposite. And like my banker,
you just went crazy.
My banker, my banker has said that too, which thankfully I found a bank that would back some of this, and he says, so he's a great guy. His name is Mike, and Mike always says that, he goes, the thing that's I love about you, Brian, is that you never back away from it. You're always just like, well, we got to do this.
Right.
We have to have this tank. We have to have this. We have to have that. He said, rather than going like, hey, we don't have the budget for that, you're just like, we're going to have to figure it out.
We'll make it work.
We got to make it work, because again, for me, it's like, you want people to walk in and be blown away. Now, I'm not the Georgia Aquarium. I mean, the Georgia Aquarium is, they're a $1 million gallon tank that costs, $100 million for one tank.
Right.
That's impressive. I'm not going to be that impressive. But for, like you said, for someone that's, building a grocery store into an aquarium, it's going to be impressive. I mean, it's not going to be like you walk in and go, oh, it looks like a glorified pet shop. No.
Right.
It's going to be.
What's the aquarium situation like in Michigan? Like, what's the next closest one around your area? It's got to be pretty far. I don't know.
Yeah, there's actually just one aquarium. Well, theoretically there's two aquariums in the state of Michigan. Both of them, one is about the same size as mine, and it's a little bit of a distance for me. And I'd never talk bad about them because I think that their aquarium is actually a very beautiful aquarium. It's just it's not super interactive. I've been there probably. I love aquariums, so I've been to this aquarium probably 20 times, and it's like, it's $29 to get in, and I try to spend more than 40 minutes there, and I can't. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the way it is. But it's still really cool. I mean, it's really beautiful, really well done, really themed well, everything like that. And then theoretically, we have the oldest aquarium in the country on Belle Isle, which is downtown Detroit, which is, I'm in the suburbs it's about a half hour, 40-minute drive to Detroit. But it's really, Belle Isle Aquarium is it built in 1903.
Oh, wow.
And they just did a several $1 million renovation, not to bring it up to modern standards, but to restore it back to 1903 standards.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's more, to me, it's not really an aquarium. It's a historic building.
Yeah, it's like a piece of history.
Like, I can tell you what, no one is going to that aquarium to look at fish. You know what I mean? Because the fish tanks are 1903, and don't get me wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, there it is, man.
Yeah.
Super cool building.
Looks like a haunted house.
Yeah, I mean, look at this.
It's fucking cool, though.
It's so cool. And this, literally, I was a kid. Now, I'll tell you a quick story. Back when I was a kid, My mom took me there when she said I was 2 years old. And by the way, I have like a really ridiculous memory. Like I remember like my grandma that passed away when I was 20 months old. I remember her, So I'm just
Wow.
really blessed with like a memory to when that was my earliest memory was of my grandma. But my mom said I was 2 years old when she took me to that aquarium. And at the time they had one snake. It was a ball python in that aquarium. They no longer have any reptiles. It's all fish. But that was what blew me away. I remember that time going and seeing that snake and being like absolutely fascinated by that snake. And literally, ever since my entire life, I've been obsessed with reptiles. I've been obsessed with fish and all animals.
That's cool.
So that building there really is what started me to be who I am in my
Wow.
life. And so it's pretty cool. But like I said, competition wise, I'm certainly not worried about that aquarium and the other aquarium's fine. It's as you guys know, it's rare to be in a major city like Detroit, which is a huge metropolitan area, and not have a public aquarium.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
True.
And the Detroit Zoo tried to raise $100 million just before COVID to build an aquarium, and it totally got shot down. And
Gotcha.
and so it's deep six.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying, guys, if you like the Wild Times, check us out on Patreon. We put out 4 extra podcasts per month.
That's one commute a week that you're just going to be laughing and learning the whole time in the car. Hey, let me do something else. This is the late night content, the stuff that we can't show on YouTube because they'll kick us off YouTube.
It's the Cinemax of podcasts. Uncensored, raw dog. It's the Cinemax of podcasts. Check it out. Link right here.
What's the single animal that's going to be in the aquarium that ended up costing the most between acquiring the animal and the tank and everything, where it was like, this is our big ticket item?
I think that the black tip reef shark tank is going to be that way. The black tip reef sharks aren't super
Can you pull
expensive.
one of those up, Kyle? Black tippery shark? Let's see what one of these looks like.
They're super cool. They look like miniature jaws. I mean, they look as close to like a little great white shark as you can get. That's not big. It's a tiny, they get like 5-6 foot type of size, so they're not giant. And
still pretty big though.
Yeah,
Nice.
but the shark itself, and it will also bonnet heads. We'll have a couple bonnet head sharks too. And what's nice about the bonnet heads is they look like hammerheads, but they stay small. Right.
Okay.
They're like miniature, like those miniature huskies.
There you go.
That I love.
There's a bonnet head right there. So you can see they stay small, but they look kind of like a hammerhead. So we'll actually have black tip, white tips, and bonnet heads in it. But it isn't the sharks themselves. They're not cheap. Bonnet heads are about $6,000 for small ones. But and of course you want a bunch of them. But the tank was ridiculous.
How big?
What's
the size?
It's a 30-foot diameter. 6 foot tall, clear acrylic cylinder. Because you got to, with sharks, you got to have round. They don't square. You can have a square tank if it's ginormous. If not, they bump into walls, and you don't want that. They need to swim in circles. So cylinder tanks are the best for sharks because they swim in circles, and you have like really heavy air, the water flow. Got to have super water flow in it, and so the tank itself. I mean, it's a $600,000 tank.
Jesus.
Brian, let me ask you a question about, because the animals are just one part of this. You have the reptarium, you've got this aquarium you're building. Yeah. The animals are the cool part, but the environments that you have to build to keep these animals is almost arguably a bigger part of what goes into something like this. Is that something where you're like, I love constructing worlds that living things can live in?
Yeah, I think you have to be like really passionate about, like you said, developing ecosystems. What does the animal need, and what will look really cool? And then another thing that people don't, private individuals that are doing what I do, they don't think about a lot. Is it's not just about the enclosure. It's not just about the animal. It's also about everything outside the animal's cages.
Right.
So like I always say, like when you step into the reptarium, you're like stepping into a jungle. What I mean? Like we purposely put like these banyan trees, which are they're like fake, but they look like real banyan trees. We literally purposely put them like in the aisleways, so you have to like duck underneath them to get to to the next thing. So you feel like you're in the environment, right? And so the outdoor theming, the theming outside the enclosures that's a whole new thing. And to me, that's what's important, is when you walk in, that you feel like you're part of the exhibit. It's not like, I think the old school zoo is like aesthetic, like just walls. Maybe there's some plaques on the wall that tell you something about the animals or something like that. But then the exhibit is what's important. And then there's this other side of it, especially with reptiles, because I'm really more of a reptile guy than anything. That's one of the reasons why I brought Steve Bashy on, as well as one of my main guys, my COO to my company, was actually came from a chain of public aquariums. So like those are my fish guys. I always go to them and I go like, okay, like they'll talk about stuff about fish that's so far over my head. Like I don't know what the hell they're talking about, and so I'll be like, all right, talk to me like an idiot, because I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Ask me something about a reptile and I'll tell you everything about every reptile you can imagine. But I'm still learning a lot about fish, and that's why I brought these people into my life, so that we do it well. But the point is that you don't want to overdo an enclosure either. Like there's a couple zoos, I won't mention their name because I never bash anything, that I've been to that like have really cool reptile houses, but the cages are so planted and they look great. They look so natural. And I guarantee you the animals are super happy because they're so planted. The problem is you never see the animal.
You never see
it.
You never see it because there's all just plants, and you're like, oh, there's a tail of a reticulated, there's a 17-foot reticulated python in this cage. And I can see his tip of his tail right there. Where the heck is the other 16-foot, 9
It's I have a contact that I'm working with he's right now buying a bunch of like old, like, local regional theme parks and trying to like redo them as a more of an experience. Cause it's like, you go to a lot, like the theme park I grew up going up to, it was like, there were rides where you go fast, but there wasn't a lot of theming, right? It wasn't like the magic of like going to Disney or whatever. Right. And so he's trying to bring that in. And it's funny you say that, cause you don't bash anything, but I will bash the LA Zoo. Cause it's,
the LA Zoo is,
I mean, it's the second biggest metropolitan area in the US, and it's the worst zoo I've ever been to. The zoo in Syracuse, New York is better. It's the primate enclosures are cement boxes.
It's tough. It's sad when you go there.
It's old school. Actually, ironically enough, I knew Mike Dees, who was the director of the LA Zoo for many years. But again, he was director. He passed away, unfortunately, about 5-6 years ago. But he was the director for probably about 30 years. And he talked about it a lot, being just strapped for money. I mean, the zoo was school zoo, and a lot of schools like the Detroit Zoo is this way, right? It had a lot of those old things, and slowly they're doing a great job going back and redoing everything, right? To bring it to the modern world. Whereas like, some zoos like the LA Zoo, how in the world they don't have the funding, I don't know. Because
people don't care. People don't like, what are they? They just don't want to do it.
It's local politics too, right? A lot of money in this city goes to stuff where it's like, whoa. Can
I tell you a quick LA Zoo story?
Of course.
Please. All right, cool. So you know who Vern Troyer was? So Vern management reached out to me, and he loves animals. He's from Detroit. He lived in LA, but he was from Detroit. And so they reached out and said, hey, are you going to be in LA sometime? And would you take Vern on an animal adventure? And I was like, heck mini me. Yeah. Exactly. And I was like, oh my God, I'd love to go hang out with Vern for the day. So at the time, Mike Dees was still alive, and he was no longer the director of the LA Zoo. He'd retired. And so I called Mike up and said, hey, can we do like behind the scenes tour? I've got, Vern Troyer with me. They're like, absolutely. And so, I said, I'm going to film it for my vlog, and so, no problem, blah, 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 blah. And so, sure enough, we go there. They treat us great. They take us behind the scenes. Vern has a great day. He's a great guy, just super, super nice guy. Nice. And we're filming the whole thing. And, finally, we leave, everything's good. They do a bunch of promo shots with Vern, like for their, whatever their promotions are. And so I released the video like the next week or 2 weeks later or something like that. And literally their PR department calls me and says, you need to take the video down. And I go, what do you mean I need to take the video down? Like, what does it mean? And so they said, we didn't know you were going to post this online. And I said, I have 2 camera guys with me.
Yeah.
I'm a YouTuber that has millions of followers.
3
like,
million.
What do you think I was going to do with this footage? And so they literally banned me from the zoo.
What?
No shit.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to be at the LA Zoo anymore.
And you still wouldn't talk shit about it.
It's funny because I started feeling bad after I talked shit about it because Brian's so nice, and now I feel great.
But I mean, I still had a great time, and I'm not trying to like. I mean, hell, if someone wants to go to a zoo, go to support any zoo, you know. And
I mean, that's the zoo you're going to if you live in LA, unless you want to go to like San Diego. It doesn't matter. It's not like it's going to draw people in from a different state.
No. Well, I think that is the difference, right? Is that like, you know, you want to create a zoo. That's a great, you couldn't have nailed it any better. You want to create a zoo that isn't just local, that people want to travel to. Yeah. So LA, no one's traveling to the LA Zoo probably, except for people in the SoCal area. People are traveling to the San Diego Zoo from all over the world.
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
it's great
and rightfully so, because it's one of the nicest zoo. It's top. I think it's probably the top zoo in the country. You know, I like, believe it or not, I love zoos, by the way. And so, like, have you ever been to the Henry Doily Zoo in Omaha? Omaha, Nebraska. Do yourself a favor. I don't know if you'll ever be in Nebraska, but go to that zoo.
I drive through there on the way back to Chicago. The very few times I drive, but Omaha, Nebraska is one of the places. No offense, Nebraska, where I'm just like, there's absolutely nothing here. It's nothing.
It's a tough state. It's a tough state, but I'm telling you what, I think it rivals San Diego. I think it rivals San Diego. And what it is they have the Mutual of Omaha money. All the insurance, and so I mean, this zoo is. I went there behind the scenes. Actually, not even behind the scenes. I actually got we did an event there where I was a keynote speaker for something, and we actually got to just hang out afterwards. Like after it was closed till like midnight, just drinking beer, hanging out with the animals, with the zookeepers, and going behind the scenes and just hanging out. But that place is ridiculous. I'm awesome. Talking about ridiculous.
Mutual of Omaha has been, because they did Wild Kingdom for like they sponsored Wild Kingdom for like 30 years or whatever.
They did. Yeah, they as a matter of fact, they still do. It's now, well, I don't know if it finally stopped, but another story I'll tell you is that they were starting Mutual of Omaha online. They were going to do an online thing, and they were looking for a host, right? And so this is, again, 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And so I jumped in, and it was supposed to be a like how many votes you get type of thing. I'm talking like, and again, I just had a lot of following at the time, so I had like let's say I had 35,000 votes. The next person had like 1,500 votes, and they were going to pick the top. What it was, they were going to pick the top 3 based on fan votes.
And then you fight till death.
Right, exactly. That's what they were going to do. And so then they were going to fly you out. And you were going to audition for the event, and it was supposed to. They were going to do Mutual of Omaha online, and they did. And I think her name was Stephanie Arno or something like that, something on that lines. She ended up getting the gig, and they didn't even get me in the top 3. They didn't even get me in the top 3. They didn't even invite.
How did that work?
I don't know what happened. I think it was to be totally honest with you, I think. Rightfully so. I get it. I breed. At the time, I was breeding and selling snakes and stuff like that to the pet trade, and I think it kind of went against the Mutual of Omaha kind of conservation type of thing. And by the way, I mean, Stephanie did a great job. I mean, it lasted for, like I said, it might be done now because I haven't heard about it in the last few years. But she was traveling around the world doing Mutual of Omaha, but for their YouTube channel, and she did it for a number of years. But yeah, I mean, I grew up on Mutual of Omaha. I mean, come on,
Wild Kingdom was great.
Wild Kingdom was fantastic.
All right, so Omaha's your number 1 zoo. I would say San Diego, but I haven't been to a ton. I've not been to Omaha.
I would say 1A, 1B.
All right.
I can't say San Diego's not 1 because it's, you can't say San Diego's not 1.
What about, let's start with Peter. What's your favorite aquarium that you've been to?
Oh, I mean, I've been to few, and it's going to be the Shed Aquarium because I've been there the most, and it's a good, it's like a very solid aquarium, and so it's an amazing place, and I love
What's yours, Brian?
Yeah, it's funny. I would say the Shed is definitely nostalgic wise. my favorite, because it's a older aquarium. Although they're doing some major renovations to it right now.
Oh,
I mean,
it's
how
awesome.
beautiful! Look at how beautiful that building is.
beautiful building.
Right on Lake Michigan. I
It's
mean, it's
beautiful.
absolutely a wonderful place. It's my favorite place to go. But then of course Atlanta is the you know,
Okay.
that's Georgia is the Georgia Aquarium is the, you just can't touch it. No, but I take that back. I'm going to take this back. We didn't say out of the country, right? So
No.
I'm going to say
No, anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
the Beijing Aquarium then.
Oh, you
Okay.
got to pull this up, Kyle. I got to see what they're doing
Yeah.
over there.
Beijing
It's not
Aquarium
legal,
is-
whatever it is, but let's
Oh
see
no,
what it is.
yeah. I mean, they're pulling stuff out of the wild. They're pulling great white sharks and putting them in tanks. and
Really?
stuff. No, they're not doing that. But
Oh, okay.
but I'm sure that China does things different than everyone else. But yeah, if you pull up something, I mean, I'm telling you what, their jelly breeding facility, which is off, is not it's off public ground. We did a tour of it. It's got to be 200,000 square foot. Just their
Yeah.
jellyfish breeding facility, and they supply jellyfish to people all over the world. And but they had they had whale sharks. They had, I mean, it was a crazy cool aquarium.
Nice.
It's probably my favorite aquarium I've ever been to.
What about
Okay.
you, Pat?
I mean, so I've never been to Atlanta. I was wondering if that's what he was going to say, because I've wanted to
Yeah.
go to the Georgia Aquarium. I've seen all the videos of, people, you can go in the tank and swim around with the whale sharks and stuff. It's obviously, the scale is insane.
Wow.
I don't know, because I haven't been to all of them, of course. Baltimore Aquarium is where I used to go when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so everything seemed so huge, but
Yeah.
I'm like curious to go back as an adult now and see
No,
the
it's
Baltimore Aquarium.
It's a good aquarium. It's actually a really good aquarium. I've been there a
Okay.
few times.
Monterey's good too.
Yeah,
like
Monterey.
Monterey.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of great ones, right? I mean, it's hard to really quantify, because each is a different experience. Chicago has that nostalgic, beautiful thing. Georgia Aquarium has all. I mean, it's just the biggest, craziest aquarium in the country.
Mhm.
And then, like you said, you just go through, and there's so many that are amazing. I know Forrest went to that one that was like owned by like the Bass Pro Shop guy, or what was it?
Yeah.
That aquarium looked dope as heck too. I'd never been.
Oh yeah.
I didn't
saw
even
you
know that
post
thing existed. It's like, the Bass Pro Shop's headquarters. And
That was
apparently
somewhere
it's
in the Midwest, right?
Springfield, Missouri,
yeah.
Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah.
It's funny because we go to the Monterey Aquarium like once a year.
Mhm.
It's right out on the wharf. It's nice. But when you watch kids, of course they're excited about the shark, and the way they do the shark thing is like you stand on one of those like escalator type things that's just going straight, and you kind of go through it. That's cool. But you see kids group up at the otters and just will watch the otters.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of, enjoying and smiling and laughing. And then they have a giant octopus in a tank. And you
this is
see
my
kids
dream.
around that. And they're all you can just see what in their head. They're just like, this thing's an alien.
It
Like,
is.
you can see them
an
looking
alien.
at it.
It is
Yeah.
an alien. I mean, it has 8 brains.
Well, and the otter,
Right.
dude, and the otters too are just. You got the octopus that are the alien, and you got the otters that are just like these social monkeys that like hold hands.
Social
and
water monkeys.
Yes, like they're
Yeah.
just chilling. Except recently, there's been some otter attacks. That
Did
have
you
been
look
happening.
into,
Otters.
Brian? Sorry, we didn't know what this podcast was going to be.
No,
we're
I'm.
just
What are you
having a
apologizing
blast.
about?
If you're
I'm having a
building an
blast, man.
aquarium,
I'm having a blast, dude.
did you look into trying to get a big old octopus in your aquarium?
Yeah, so the Pacific octopuses are the big ones, right? There's a couple problems with them, and we did, when we sat down and made that list, it was on the list. It was on the list. Because I mean, gosh, an octopus, so good. So there's a couple problems. One is the fact, well, there's probably 3 problems. One is the fact that they're escape art. I mean, they're smart as hell.
Yeah.
Right? So you literally have to lock them in. You
like
have
a
to have
jail. You have to
Yeah,
have
it's
like
gotta be
security.
a jail. So that's one. 2, because they come from the Pacific Northwest, off of Seattle and Oregon and stuff like that. You have to have the water really cold, so you have to you cool it down to about 50 degrees. But you've got chillers, you can do that. You run into some issues with like condensation and stuff like that. You have to worry about like ventilation, stuff like that, so that people can see in. But the biggest issue that I had with it, there was 2 issues I had with it. Number one, they are so smart, and I have a little bit of a problem with putting super smart animals into smaller than they deserve.
Well, I mean, with the fact that we eat octopus is weird to me.
It is. I've never had one in my life, and I never will. I never will. I've always said that, I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan, and we won't get into the topic of farming and stuff like that because that's a whole nother thing. But I've never eaten a reptile because I love reptiles. I'm not against it. I'm not against you having crocodile if it's farmed and alligator if it's farmed. Go for it. No problem. It's just me. I personally don't. As a matter of fact, they're great conservation stories, quite frankly. If it wasn't for the skin trade and the eating, the alligator tail trade, alligators might be extinct right now. So it's a great conservation story.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, back in the 70s, they were critically endangered. Critically endangered back in the 70s.
That's shocking because they're like
Everywhere now.
Crocodiles are like they're such a perfect animal.
Dude,
been around for
200 million years on Earth.
Well, we're talking alligators, crocodiles now, but still the fact that even alligators were almost extinct is just I've never heard that. I didn't know.
Just in the 70s. Same thing with saltwater. They were porosis. They were not critically endangered, but endangered, and now they're like a nuisance. Now they issue license to kill them. During hunting seasons, and it's all because of the skin trade and the meat trade. So I'm not against it at all. I think it's a great concentration. I just personally, because I love reptiles, don't eat reptiles, and I don't eat octopus because just like I wouldn't eat dolphins or whales or something like that. I just think there's some animals I personally held at a level where I'm like, I'm not going to eat this thing. But an octopus
smarter than you.
So
you don't want to eat something that's smarter than you are.
It will rise up and kill you.
And most people don't know. Like I said, they literally, octopus have in each tentacle there's a brain.
Right.
In every tentacle. It's really crazy. So then the last thing I was going to say was that, and this is probably the big thing that caused me to say, I could overcome the other things. I could say, all right, I can put this octopus in there. I can keep the tank cold and worry about it. This is the part I don't like, is that most octopus live less than a year.
Oh, right.
So yeah.
I was going to guess. They're very short-lived. It's like crazy. And by the way, that is, when I think about why we eat them, that's why. It's just like, boom, that they're gone so fast anyways. I feel like people don't care how smart they are. If they lived any longer than they did, they would take over the whole world.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're 100% right. But yeah, most octopus are 6 to 10 months is their lifespan. So
even the really big ones. So even the
really big ones. Yeah. So most aquariums are replacing that exhibit once a year.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Had you heard the story about I don't know where it was, but the aquarium where fish were going missing from a tank and they couldn't figure out which fish it was. I think it was somewhere in Europe. But they were like, who the fuck is eating these fish?
Who is it?
And then they weren't finding bones. And so they rigged up cameras. And at night when it was closed, the octopus was getting out of its tank, going into the other tank, taking a fish back to his original tank, and and eating it, and then
having a nice meal, a slow, delicious dinner,
sneaky meal.
Yeah, you just think how smart that is, for an animal. And otters,
crazy.
You talk about otters. Otters are the same way, super smart animals.
Love them.
I have friends at the Columbus Zoo. I used to be good friends with Jack Hanna, and now I'm still friends with the people that were in his department there. And as a matter of fact, I was just there a few months back, and a while ago, they actually had surveillance footage of their otters. These are river otters. That what they were doing was when they would have the shift thing. The cage would come down and up to feed and stuff like that. And what they were doing was the otters, when the keepers would put the cage up, the otters would take a rock and put it underneath the cage so it wouldn't lock. And then at night they would get out. They would run around at night and then go back in the morning. And no one knew they were loose.
The going back is the most brilliant thing I've ever heard.
Well, it's literally so apparently an otter has the same personality as an 11-year-old boy at a sleepover. We're like, wouldn't it just be fun if we did something we're not supposed to do at night?
Man, animals are just incredible. I want to shift gears maybe, but not really. So you're doing the aquarium, you've got the reptarium, and AnimalCon's coming up.
Hey, brosteners, thank you for being loyal subscribers. We appreciate everything that you do. And now we have a membership offer for you.
I think you can get ad-free episodes, I heard.
That's pretty big.
Ad-free's big, but you can also get your comments looked at, so we don't have to sift through the millions.
How do you do
comments
that?
there.
Is there some sort of badge system?
There's a badge system, a loyalty badge. Boom. Shows up next to your name in the comments. Boom. We read the comment.
All this badge talks make I'm going to the badge store.
He's going to
You're
get
a
a badge.
badger.
He's gonna buy one. Didn't earn it. He's gonna buy one.
He did a fake leave.
I assumed Kyle would know to cut
Embarrassing.
on the motion.
All right, let's cut now. That's our ad.
We haven't even talked about it. We're more than halfway through the podcast.
Right.
Oh, that's okay.
15th and 16th of September.
15th, 16th, 17th of September. Yep, in Orlando, Florida. So this
Second
is
annual, right?
second annual. Yep,
Bigger
second
than
annual.
ever. From
It is. We went
Yeah.
from 93 influencers last year, from all over the place, the biggest, names in animals and wildlife, went from that to 137 this year. So we've got 137. I think that when I added it up, it was something ridiculous, like 350 million people outreach. If you added up everyone's following together.
Sure.
And so it's really crazy to get all these people that, it's an interesting thing, right? Because you're getting people from different, reptile people, fish people, bird people, all this type of stuff. So you have like these different, genres, but then you also have like a lot of personalities, as you can imagine, right?
Yes.
When you get people that are TikTokers or YouTubers, typically they have a big personality, and if they're successful. And so, and sometimes, I had a conversation today with a couple guys that are going to be there that hate each other. I'm talking like online, hate each other. And I had to have a talk, and I said, hey, listen, you guys don't have to play nice, but you can't fight. I said, you can't. I go, there
You
can't
should
be
make it a thing. Make it a boxing match.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. I mean, that's been popular, right? Look at the Paul brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's interesting to juggle, like, to keep everyone happy, to keep
Sure.
everyone coming in. But it's to me, it was just it's all based on the fact that for the last 12, 14 years, whatever it's been, I've been going to Playlist Live and VidCon, right? Which are YouTuber, well, now they're social media, events. They used to be YouTube events. And, you would get all these like big YouTubers from all over the world would come in, and their fans could meet them, and their panels, and there's all kinds of things like that.
Yeah.
And I always thought to myself, I go to, VidCon, and there'd be, 10,000 people would come through the gate, and there's all these amazing, but there was like 5 animal guys or 3 animal
course.
guys in the whole thing. And I thought, like, could we do this where it's just animal people, like nothing else, And so the thought was, to be honest, it was like 2 years before COVID hit is when I kind of had the light bulb went off, and I started planning for it. And we were going to launch in 2020. And then, of course, COVID happened, and
Right.
that was like, okay, well, that's not going to work. And so we pushed it off till last year, 2022. And, the first one was good. It wasn't great. I won't lie. It was good enough to do number 2.
Sure.
And now I think this year we're trending pretty good, and I think it's going to be a much bigger and better event this year. It was still a good event last year. I mean, we had like 1,200 people or something like that come through. This year, I think we'll get quite a bit more than that.
Nice.
Oh, I'm sure.
And
That's
we're
the,
doing
that's the
more
way
things,
that that's the way those things work too. I mean, you can't expect it to be huge the first year, but
No.
once that word of mouth spreads and the influencers are talking about it, they're going back telling their people, it's boom, like exponential growth the second year.
Yeah,
you know
I
what
mean, our
Yeah.
first podcast, I think like 34 people listened to.
Nice.
It's like you just gotta like put a product out there and let people find it. What's your vision for it? Is it like, there's a certain vision for Comic-Con, which it's going to be crazy. People are going to get drunk. It's going to just be fucking crazy fun.
Yeah.
What's your sort of like, year 10, it's crushing. How do you want it to look?
So I think that, listen, you guys probably know this by talking to me, that I don't do anything that I want this to be the largest animal event in the country.
Yeah.
Period. The largest event in the country in the next 10 years. We do have plans to add dog and cat, maybe as early as next year. We're talking to some big influencers on the dog and cat side, and if we can secure them, we'll expand. I'd like to have
That'll be huge.
Yeah,
Who are you
have all
talking to?
animal
You
people.
talking to Doug the Pug?
I don't want to say the people,
Okay.
but
Doug
I
the
can-
Pug himself.
I can
That's the only one I
guarantee
know.
you that. I can guarantee you would know some of the names because they're pretty
Got it.
household names
Sure.
on the dog and cat side. But anyways, So that's but to me, it's about, and you brought up something earlier that I wanted to touch on. You said Disney. And
Yeah.
I'm a huge Disney fan, not because I like Mickey Mouse, which I think is cool and stuff like that.
Sure.
I like Walt Disney, and I like
Yeah.
Walt Disney's vision, right? The fact that not only was his vision so incredible and so inspiring, you got to remember this guy was in his mid 40s and had a job and lived in an apartment.
That
You know what I
makes
mean?
me that makes me optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, just think about that. And he created an empire out of just like his brain. But the thing I'm the most impressed with is, and I'm not talking about Disney like with the studios and Marvel, and I'm not talking about that type. I'm talking about Walt Disney's vision with the parks and the experiences. And
right.
and still I don't know when Walt Disney died, but it's been 40 years, whatever. The interesting thing I think about it is 40 years after, they're running Disneyland and Disney World exactly with Walt Disney's vision today.
Right.
And I know
It's
people that
true.
work at Disney, and literally they still have the same policies. And the fact that, like, did you know, and your audience will love this, did you know if you go into a store on a Disney property and steal something, an employee can't stop you? They have to
No.
call the
They're gonna
Mickey
love
Mouse
it.
police. They have
What
to
are you
call the
saying
Mickey
about
Mouse
our
police.
audience?
Yeah. But they're not allowed to ever confront if an employee confronts anybody in any way, and no matter how rude you are to one of their employees, they can't be rude back to you, or they're immediately terminated. It's just, my point is, and this is what I've said, Disney, to me at least, is the only place on the planet that I know of that you can go and they will drain every penny out of your pocketbook.
Yes.
And
because they're
and
so
you will-
nice.
and you will leave and cannot wait to go back to do it again.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Absolutely.
and I'm not talking about the financial side. I don't care about, the first thing from my mind is money. I could care. I don't spend money on myself on anything. So I just want more cooler animals. But my point is that I wanted, I always talk to everybody in my crew that I want to be the Disney of animals, right? Like that's the
The
idea.
Walt
is
Disney.
the Walt Disney of animals, like where I'm creating experiences, whether it's in
Yeah.
the Reptarium, the aquarium, or AnimalCon. I'm creating experiences that you can't get anywhere else. So AnimalCon 10 years from now, not only do I want it to be the biggest animal event in the world, but and that's not from narcissism or anything like that. It's just because I think it has the ability. It's the most unique. There's reptile shows, there's fish shows, there's dog shows, there's cat shows, there's CatCon. It just happened just recently. But there's not like an AnimalCon type of a Comic-Con type of thing where you have all the influencers, and then you start bringing in manufacturers and start bringing all that stuff, which again, we're slowly building that, right? Like
Right.
Sure.
from last year to this year, we still don't have a ton of manufacturers, but we doubled the manufacturers that we had last year,
Yeah.
and I think we'll double again next year as the proof of concept. But more important to me, and you guys will see this when you're at the event, and Forrest knows this, and we're so thankful that you guys are coming.
We're stoked, man.
I can't wait.
But it's about the experience. I want two things. I want, one, the people that are paying to come through the door to have a great experience. Give them things to do, give them things to look at, meeting the people that they follow online and look up to, and creating an experience for the people walking through. But just as important to me is creating an experience for the people like you that are creators that are coming through the door, right? You're coming to support my event. So I want to create an experience. And that's why we have, VIP after parties. That's why we have, like we've got Gatorland, which is by my favorite place in Florida to go. I love Gatorland. I go there every single time I'm in Florida. And literally they shut the park down for just us.
Oh wow.
no shit.
So
That's cool.
so Sunday night we go to Gatorland for the after party. We have a Friday night after party, a Saturday night after party, and then we actually this year even have a Saturday night after party. So after the party, there's a pool party after the after party, and then
Nice.
Sunday is an after party that is like I said, is at Gatorland, where they shut the park down. We go there, we can do feed alligators, hold on to stuff, look around, and it's a giant park, and
Yeah.
we get the park to ourselves.
That's real fun.
And so it's about experience for me.
We definitely have been. I mean, we've been planning this with you guys for a couple months now, and we've been talking about how when we do the lives on the 14th, 15th, we like how we can make it not just a podcast. Like we've been talking about how we can bring the experience to the live event. We want like the background noise. We
Yeah.
want it like people to be there. Like this
Yeah.
is big for us. And I'm like, this is one of the visions we had for Wild Times when we first started this 3.5, 4 years ago, whatever it is now, to do like these kind of live events.
Yeah.
So it's like really fun for us to get our toe in there right now and be like, all right, like here it is. Like here's our event. Let's
Well, I'm
bring
also
this.
I'm excited because we're only working for 4 hours a day, and then we get to walk around and check it out. Because I didn't get to go last year, so I'm excited to
and just
see what
meeting,
it's all about.
and I think for you guys meeting, future guests of shows, and
Yeah.
like like last year it was interesting. Like you'll meet people this year that have 100,000 followers that next year will have 1 million followers.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened last year to us. We had a lot of people that came in with 150,000 followers. And now this year they're at 2 million followers, and they really blew up. And it's cool to see that exposure. And so these are going to be future people that you guys are going to want to have on your podcast. And
Absolutely.
and you guys, it's going to be fun. I mean, you guys will have, you'll be up on a stage,
Sweet.
in the main room. You'll have, people can sit down in chairs in front of you guys and watch and stuff like that. So hopefully people will wander over and enjoy the podcast.
I think at least 4 will.
Yeah, 4 to 10. 4 to 10.
I'm not going to ask you. I would never ask you for a name, but was there anyone who you approached who had a list of demands that was so extreme that you were like, never mind?
Well,
a ton of them. As a matter of fact, not a ton. I shouldn't say a ton. There were several last year that. This is the funny part: is the bigger the following, typically the more easygoing people were. Like, yeah, let's do it. This sounds like great. Let's do whatever.
Right.
It was the guys that had the 100,000 followers that were demanding things that were just impossible. You know what I mean? I'm
Really?
like, if I do this for you, I have to do this for all 100 creators, and then it would, I would lose $250,000 doing the show like that.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, I had guys that the day before, were like, so you're going to pay for my gas money coming up there, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Why didn't we talk about this before?
Yeah, this is before. And then they literally were like, well, if you're not paying for my gas, I'm not coming. And
it's funny, man.
Like, okay, see ya.
People are the worst.
I think as people are like ascending into something is maybe when they're at their worst, when they're getting a modicum of recognition sometimes. Cause like I've seen it in TV, sometimes you'll have like a reality person who's like going into the second season of a show on a cable network that barely anyone watches.
Yeah.
And you see them change from season 1 to 2. And now they've got a huge list of demands. And then like last year I did a wildlife series with a big A-list movie star. And like, we were like, can you send us like his requests and stuff? And it was just like, yeah, he likes burgers and meatloaf and like this flavor of Powerade.
Meatloaf.
Other than that, you're good. We're like, okay, cool. Yeah, if you could have some chips on set, that'd be helpful. We're like, great.
Well, you can say it.
Just
It's
like
Kevin
you,
Costner.
Yeah.
By the way,
didn't have any. He was just like normal guy. Just
Kevin
whatever.
Costner would be good.
we've mentioned it on the pod before, but he was a cool guy.
Really,
Yeah,
I literally just started watching Yellowstone. I missed the boat, man. I missed the boat. I just started watching.
I'm jealous.
Now
I
you
wish
get
I
to
could go erase it and go back and do it for the first time. I love that
now you
shit.
get to enjoy it from the start.
I'm hooked. But I think that just like you guys knowing celebrities and successful people, which by the way, sometimes I think is so bizarre that I'm just a YouTuber. You know what I mean? I've done
YouTube's the biggest thing now, man.
Yeah.
It's bigger than TV. So it's like,
it's just crazy though,
Yeah.
It's crazy that I get to hang around the people I get to hang around because I'm a YouTuber is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense to me sometimes, it's like, it's like, what, like I can do this. This is crazy. But so I've been around a lot of celebrities, and I like you were saying, I think that when people are ascending, when they get to a certain point, it sometimes goes to their head. So I like with me, what was great with me, why my humility stayed forever was that I didn't have a meteoric rise. You know, I've been doing this since 2008 and just steadily like chipping away at it, right? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So there was never that point where, because I know a few people also. So I think that when you start to get that rise, it goes to your head a little bit. The other thing that happens is when, especially YouTubers and social media guys, because usually they're not my demographic, they're not in their 50s, they're usually in their teens and 20s.
Right.
Same
then
with it. Yeah.
and I have several friends, good friends of mine, that I've seen go through it where they went from like nothing, literally like working for, you know, $12 an hour, to all of a sudden like 6 million followers in 6 months because World Star started posting about them or whatever. And then now all of a sudden they're hanging out with, you know, Diddy and stuff like that.
Right.
And,
So weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that I think is almost the worst scenario, because, you know, when you're 21 years old and you were literally living in a 1-bedroom apartment, and now all of a sudden you're doing brand deals for $250,000.
Yeah.
You know, I've yet to know one of those people that didn't lose their mind. You know what I mean? They always seem to come back, but it takes a while, right? You know what I mean? All of a sudden they think that they're bigger than life, and they start believing that there's something they're not, and their humility goes away. I always say success breeds 2 things, right? Either breeds ego or humility, right? And I've seen both, you know, and the egos get so crazy that you're like, what? You're not even a shell of the person that I met when you had no following. But like I said, at least the people I know that have had that happen, they've all come back to the humility, you know, eventually, you know.
I've got a service to offer those people that I think will really help them stay grounded, because this is what I do, and it helps me stay grounded as we have this meteoric rise over the past 4 years. It's minuscule, but I will go on to all of your YouTube videos if you're out there and you're having a meteoric rise, and I will get all of the negative comments, and I will email them to you every 3 days.
Perfect.
And then let's see how great you feel.
But it is like nobody's really cut out for that. And it's, you know, all you have to do is have a dog, get a puppy, or have a kid. And you see, it's just the nature of being alive is you're just testing boundaries. And so that's the expression, if you give someone an inch, they'll take a yard. That's just what we're programmed for.
Yeah.
Like it's just grab that next thing. So if you have people kissing your ass and catering to your every need, it's going to feel awfully weird. Nobody's cut out to be famous or suddenly important overnight. It just doesn't make sense.
It's hard. Yeah.
I think the younger you are too, the harder it is to deal with it.
Of course.
Dude, if I had 1,000 followers when I was like 21, I'd be like, oh dude, like, Facebook page. Like, are you kidding me?
Your MySpace was blowing up.
Yeah. Your MySpace is blowing up.
Brian, we are excited. I have not met you in person. We're, in 2 weeks, we'll be shaking hands in Orlando.
Oh, love it, man. I can't wait. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be good. And again, you know, we'll see what the future brings, but, you know, we'll try to, you know, the idea is that, you know, we continue to have that Disney mentality and everything we touch, whether it be the Reptarium, whether it be the aquarium, whether it be AnimalCon, and all the other businesses that we run, you know, and I'm very fortunate that, you know, I have a staff that believe in me. It's going back to the Yellowstone thing. My head keeper for reptiles at my zoo, he surprised me yesterday with the new Legesea, because the aquarium is going to be called the Legesea Aquarium, and so we have a logo, the Legesea Aquarium and Reptarium, and he got it tattooed on him. And I said, and he was one of the guys that like really loved Yellowstone, right? And so of course I said, I go, there it is, man. Everyone's getting branded now.
Yeah, it's the brand.
Everyone that's here is here lifer. I go, you're a lifer now. Oh yeah, here's the Legesea Aquarium. And so he tattooed the stingray and frill dragon on his arm. So
very cool,
that's
man.
Baller.
So, and then I had a whole bunch of other employees that came and said, I'll do it too. Let's all do it together. But I'm not going to push, you know, anybody to do that.
Did you do it? Are you going to do it?
I am going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do
it. Nice.
Which is a little bit weird because I mean it's hard for you guys to see or something like that. But I have like, you know, there's like you can't see in this.
You don't.
I saw it.
You don't have much real estate left.
Yeah, there's not, and everything I have is animals. And done by one guy who is a guy named Bob Tyrell, who is one of the, you know, he's one of the top famous black and gray artist in the world.
Yeah.
And you know, he's an absolute legend. And thankfully he's a friend of mine. Again, how that happens, I don't know. But I mean, he's one of those guys again that if you want to get tattooed by him, good luck, because there's probably no chance he's ever going to respond to anything you ever give him. And actually, how I got friends with him is that I'm friends with, gosh, I feel like I'm name dropping now. I'm friends with Carrie King from Slayer, you know, and so whenever Carrie was in town, we'd just go hang out with Carrie and be backstage and all that type of stuff. And Bob was friends with Carrie as well. He did tattoos for Carrie, so I met him backstage one day, and I remember him like saying like, I had no tattoos at all, not even one tattoo. And I've always been wanting to get sleeves, and like realistic animal sleeves, like as realistic as I could, black and gray, no color. And sure enough, Bob, like, you know, we're talking backstage and he's like, yeah, I'm a tattooer. And I'm like, oh, I've been wanting to do this, you know, sleeves and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, here's my info. Give me a call sometime if you're interested. And I didn't know who he was, you know. And so I went home and I Googled him and I was like, oh my God, this guy's like been on the cover of like 50 magazines. And
that's
you know,
cool.
he's been, you know, he was a guest judge on Ink Master and you know, he was actually on the Ink Master version. He was a judge on Ink Master version in the UK. And so he's just a legend. But so it's going to be everything is realistic and everything's animals. It's Africa on this arm and my chest, Australia on this arm and my chest, and then my legs are you know, when I finish, it will be all my animals, you know, stuff from here. And
cool.
I want to do Asia on my back.
What about your booty?
I'll probably leave that go. I'll probably leave that go.
Call me Peter.
Yeah, but no one will see it. You know what I mean? I don't.
That's true. What's the point?
I don't whip my butt out ever. So
your wife's just gonna be like, "What the fuck is this? I've known you for 30, 35 years."
No, my wife doesn't even see my bare ass. I'm so ashamed.
Exactly. Yeah,
I back away. Brian, thank you so much for the time, man. Really appreciate it. It's been a blast.
No, it's been amazing. I can't wait to see you guys in a couple weeks. And
hell yeah,
you know, and I'm so thankful to become friends with you guys. And really, seriously, congratulations on the continued success. I know you guys are modest, but you guys are crushing, and I know you'll be huge. So keep it going, man.
Thank you so much, man.
Cannot wait to meet you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, man. You guys be good. Have a good night. Take care, guys.
All right. See ya.
All right.
Peter, I'm hyped.
Yeah, man.
He has great energy. He's got so much energy. He's he's one of those guys who probably never just lays in bed looking at his phone.
I want him to replace Forrest on the podcast. It's much easier. I can actually get a word in edgewise. I loved it.
That's true. But now I'm starting to get pretty hyped about AnimalCon. I mean, it's weird, and I feel like it's one of those things, because here's the thing: when you have a family, a trip out of town with your bros is a vacation, even though we're working.
That's right.
So I'm really picturing it's going to be a lot of fun, but I'm also picturing the late night pool party, man, having those cocktails.
When he said that there was a party after the party on Saturday, I was like, oh my God, like my wife, I'm not even going to tell her. She'll be mad at me if I tell her there was 2 parties. But I'm going to say this. It's our last hurrah. Forrest's hurrah is over. He had it. He went to that rugby game, whatever he did, but his life is over. It's our last hurrah is coming up. It is AnimalCon. So, I mean, we're going to get wild, whether it's on air or off. Come out there. Watch us live. I'm probably going to jump in a pool naked or something.
I think you will.
I must, but I'll have my fat tire hat on.
That's a ghastly vision. You as pale as I know you're going to be.
Cheers, mates. Listen, it's going to be fun.
Should we get spray tan before this pool party?
I don't need to. Look at how tan I am. I've been hiking every 3 days. Look at me. I'm bronzed.
All right.
All right. Let me do the thing.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, do the thing.
He forgot. Wildtimes.club/info for all the podcasts. And when I say all the podcasts, I mean, not just the 2 that come out on YouTube every month. There's 4 more per month. Pat, have you ever listened to these podcasts that we put out every month? There's 4 more.
It's insane. I listen to our podcast as one of my podcasts because I don't remember anything. So I still laugh and enjoy it.
The last one we did, it's very intimate. Forrest was talking about the birth of his child. There was a witch doctor involved, all kinds of crazy shit that, we just can't expose the public to. But wildtimes.club/info. Check out the subscriptions for this on Spotify and Patreon. And, I love you guys. Not you.
Are the
guys.
hats ready?
The hats they'll be ready by the time we go to AnimalCon. We'll have new Wild Times hats.
No, these are like legit hats.
Oh,
Like, they're
people want 'em.
sweet. Like they'll be in like REI soon.
Yeah. I mean, I went to a physical store to get these embroidered
Designed
hats
by
made.
Kyle.
Yes.
Yeah, they're pretty fucking sweet. I just really want my hat.
Yeah, well, you'll get it soon. Fuck off.